the German team.
Hey friends, long time no see. How have you been? Doing pretty good, right?
Yep, I'll be doing alright. Just a any middle class member living in my nice house and working as a shop owner.
That is creeping by, I guess. Not dead yet. Been working non-stop as a co-pilot just to make ends meet.
Oh, that feels so awful, man. Geez, hope things get better for you, man.
Yeah, hopefully I'll still be alive the next time we get together.
Pardon me for interrupting, but do you know what team is? Is she off to testing again? Or you know, doing the activist stuff?
Oh my god, hi guys, sorry I'm late. I just came from a protest. Friday's soccer show, woohoo! Make our love cool again.
All good. We're almost settling down. So, how did the campaign go?
Been a long day protesting at Nuremberg, everybody. But it has been rewarding knowing that playing a part in advocating for climate change. Everything to save our environment.
You are really very pro-environmental, eh? Anyway, have a seat.
Oh my god, by the way, Beatrice, I heard that you got us a promotion, right? Congrats!
Oh, wow, remarkable.
Congratulations, my friend.
So guys, as you all know, I'm the official spokesperson of Volkswagen. And I'm proud to tell you guys that I'm coming out with a brand new car model.
Oh, how timely. You know, I've been chasing my old BMW model. She's getting a little bit old. So, what fancy new model is this?
It's called the CO2 and it runs on time gasoline race.
You know what? That sounds pretty cool. How fast can you run?
Oh my god, you'll be shocked. It runs at over 200 kilometers per hour.
Oh, you know, I can imagine owning that piece of Bali and driving her down the autobahn, speeding past every vehicle with no care in the world. My neighbors will be so jealous of me.
I can't wait for the day that I get my own car. Actually, never mind. How about I can keep up with the petrol and maintenance cost anyway?
Hold on, do you say gasoline? Like the highly polluting energy fuel? You know that each gallon of gasoline you burn creates 30 pounds of greenhouse gas emissions. That's like 6 to 9 tons of greenhouse gas area just for one car. Do you know that having such cars is not going to help our country's climate crisis?
Here she goes again.
By having such a climate-damaging business model, they're violating our fundamental human rights and destroying the very home that we live in.
Rubbish! It's also our human right in Germany to own a car in my country. My friends have a car. I have a car. My neighbors also have a car. What gives you to run them away? It's my precious baby.
Exactly, having a car is so convenient. You see, Germany is so big. You need cars to travel from one place to another. All my workers are never going to come on time.
Not something I can relate to, sadly. I'm good with my good old legs. I usually cycle to my workplace.
Besides, our new car model has officially passed the emission test and is legal for use.
Sounds pretty sketchy to me. Doesn't your company have a history of greenwashing? The 2015 Dieselgate scandal, right? The emissions, I remember the cars from Volkswagen. The emissions were found to be 40 times up the legal limit for nitrogen oxide. And you know, high levels of nitrogen oxide can be deadly to our environment and cause respiratory problems such as asthma and bronchitis. Maybe we have it. And also, I heard during the protest that your company might be getting a lawsuit from an environmental organization called Greenpeace.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing something like that before. So what do you have to say about this?
Oh my god, guys, that was in the past, okay? They have truly changed. They're trying to adopt better corporate social responsibility now. I admit that it was our fault last time for bypassing the emissions test, but we have changed for the better. Now we are trying to establish more environmentally friendly practices. Hans, you climate activists are so extreme and radicalized, giving my company such a hard time.
Yeah, I agree. And look, out there, the politics also have been getting bad, right? It's always been delaying, always coming up slow. So, why don't your activists go and fix that instead?
How is that related?
Recently, I heard that some activists from the Greenpeace parachuted down to the stadium before Germany's Euro 2020 match as an act of protest against our company, who is one of the main sponsors. At least 2 of them were injured and sent to the hospital. You climate activists these days are getting out of hand.
Hey, chill, man. We all came here for the good time, right? Did we? Let's put this aside and order some food.
Actually,
which is, first of all, why are you blaming your employees? We shouldn't be giving them a car in the first place if there's really a need to. Besides, shouldn't you be monitoring your employees more closely? I mean, then it's your own fault, for giving them too much freedom or car benefit.
Okay.
Actually, how about using renewable energy powered cars? That would reduce the emissions and move towards our aim of achieving carbon neutrality.
You won't even be producing any emissions if you don't plan to use it in the first place, right? How about just taking the public transport or cycle like me? It saves money and also serves as a healthy exercise if you cycle. You also have to reduce the carbon footprint by not producing any emission yourself.
I guess that sounds pretty feasible too.
Okay, I'll have to think about this. But thanks guys for all your suggestions.
You know, right, speaking of renewable energy, I recently installed more solar panels at my home to support Germany's idle energy finder initiative. And because of this, I'm actually playing my part as a private energy producer. So I'm actually supplying some of Germany's renewable energy supply.
Oh, looks like you're doing your part.
That's right. And the thing is, there's a policy, right? That's paying me for supplying some of my energy into Germany's electrical grid. So not only am I getting paid to supply my own energy, but I'm also getting paid to supply their energy.
Well, yeah, renewable energy may be good and for all of you, but it's also making my electricity bills much higher than it should be. And it's becoming much more unsustainable for the low-income workers like me.
Sorry, I thought the government really tried to cut down on all this. Why is it so expensive for you?
It is still not enough. Because of you guys and your car usage, which contribute to the current climate crisis, we may have to pay the price of heavier taxes to finance the government climate mitigation strategies. Even basic needs like grocery expenses, I have a problem with it, and now I have to worry about this.
Hey, you know what? We actually have a deposit system in Germany that rewards us with shopping coupon every time you recycle back your plastic cans or bottle. So, maybe if you recycle more, maybe you can get more of these coupons that can help with your grocery, right?
Of course, I'm aware of all this, but it's not helping much. I could really use more help if the government were at least trying to slow down these climate change projects. This results in the increase of regression taxes, which I'm already struggling to pay. As you know, regression tax is a tax that's applied uniformly, and this takes a larger percentage of income from the low-income earners like us, more than from you high-income earners. So please spare a thought for us.
Actually guys, we are not the only ones to be blamed for climate change. Although environmental activists like Lisa Member, ongoing future for climate protection and change, she herself has a carbon footprint that's higher than average German.
Please, discussing individual personal consumption is distracting us from major issues such as the lack of political action by the government. And evidently, the government hasn't been doing enough. And we are already seeing the consequences with the recent flooding events.
Oh yeah. Wasn't there a massive flooding that happened quite recently, near Western Germany?
Yeah, I heard my fellow coal miners talking about it. So what is it about?
I heard that it was something to do with the non-stop heavy rainfall that caused the nearby rivers to overflow. So nearby streets like Agaha or Hagen were even flooded and destroyed. And I believe more than 150 lives were lost in this flood.
Exactly. And if we don't do anything about our climate, natural disasters are bound to happen again.
Wait. I believe there hasn't been any scientific evidence to prove that the recent disaster has been caused by climate change.
Well, but you can't deny that climate change is attributed to the rise in extreme weather threats across Europe, which are the triggers for all these natural disasters. Some islands in Western Germany, such as Tuvalu, are only above sea levels by 2 meters, and any further increase in sea levels will be detrimental to the people living there.
That sounds really bad. But it's not like I can do anything about it either. You guys are more financially capable to do something about this, right? I think I'm really doing a lot by contributing the least to the emissions. I'm not even doing what you guys normally do, like driving your own cars.
Yeah, and if our government doesn't wish to put in more effort into combating climate change, then our younger generation is going to suffer for their incompetencies.
Wait. Putting the government aside, why are our community effort not doing enough already? I thought that, Germans, right, we are also well known for recycling or sorting out rubbish. So is this not enough for tackling climate change?
Yeah, even my employees during their free time, they'll take the initiative to go and sort out their own rubbish into the different recycling cans. And I haven't heard any complaints from them so far.
Even though I may be cash strapped, I do collect aluminum cans, paper, and old clothing to donate to my neighborhood recycling facility. That's probably the best I can do given my
Exactly. We're already recycling so much already. Why is this not enough?
Yeah, it's definitely commendable that our country has adopted such an active waste and recycling culture. But unfortunately, the government hasn't been regulating them well enough, as they should.
Yeah. I believe most of the recycled plastics are actually picked up or incinerated elsewhere in Southeast Asia instead of being recycled.
That's correct. And the truth is, even our current personal actions are not enough, and we could be doing so much more.
Not enough. So what else can we do? Like what?
Like cutting down on our consumption of meat and dairy products, and of course traveling less with cars that use such highly polluting energy fuel. And which is why you shouldn't be promoting your new car, and you shouldn't be supporting them.
I don't think I'm guilty of any of these that you mentioned. Firstly, I don't drive cars. And secondly, our household doesn't get that much meat in our meals due to our financial situation.
Yeah, I understand where you guys are coming from. But as a business, of course we need to prioritize earning profit, or else our company's gonna fall. And I also need to pay my workers. If not, what are they gonna survive on?
And for me, I love my meat and I love my car more than anybody else. But besides, right, like our country, we got some goals, right? So what, cutting down greenhouse gases emission by 55%? Or what, reducing the coal usage by 8% in 2030? Or guess what, even eliminating total coal usage by 2038? That sounds a little bit impossible to me.
Yeah, but I heard that the new government, which involves the environmentally centered Green Party, is pushing for the elimination of coal by 2030 instead. And recently, the Federal Constitutional Court has passed a ruling saying that the 2019 Climate Protection Act is insufficient, which puts pressure on political leaders to come up with more ambitious plans.
Well, climate protection and politics are the least of my concerns. The new government better raise my subsidy and financial support if they ever plan to do this. Phasing out coal means we are transitioning to renewable energy, which is more expensive. I'm tired of having to build expensive builds. My life isn't hard enough already.
Well, for me, as long as the government continue to pay me for my renewable energy, then I'm fine with it.
For me, it's going to be very hard for me and my company, and other companies also, if they implement sudden changes with regard to the use of energy. Like to eliminate coal completely, it's going to cut off our sources of fuel consumption, unless we can find better alternatives, such as sustainable renewable energy sources that allow us to power our cars continuously to meet our energy demand. In our line of work, we need a steady source of fuel.
But you can utilize like combined heat and power to fuel your cars instead. And if I'm not wrong, there are already existing hydrogen-powered fuel cars. Maybe you can use that. It's more environmentally friendly.
Or you can start looking at hybrid energy consumption that utilizes both renewable and non-renewable sources. It's better to be prepared than if the government imposes mandatory laws and regulations to strictly eliminate the usage of coal by then. It's only a matter of time. The hard coal mine I used to work for already closed down in 2018. And now I'm being transferred to this current brown coal mine. Eventually, all the coal mine in Germany will be closed down to align with the coal exit plans.
Yeah, you know what, you're right. I guess coal is in the front line, and eventually it's not looking for other sources of energy. But I can't give up my cars, right? I love my cars.
Maybe I guess I should also look into this option. Well, they did explore using these in other industries such as the process and the paper industry. Maybe these strategies can also be applied to the car industry, but we'll need more research on that.
Yeah, that's the spirit, guys.
Okay. So there has been a long talk. So what we conclude with that we should reduce our car usage, or what use cars that uses more renewable energy.
Correct. We could also use more public transport like buses, trains, or even cycle instead.
I second this. And people should also adopt less energy-intensive driving methods, like unnecessary speeding or idling in the cars while leaving the car and engine turned on. This consumes so much fuel.
Yeah, and hopefully you can see more ambitious efforts by our government to combat the climate crisis.
Yeah, make renewable energy more affordable for Jackie.
That's the way. Like that, I want to support Germany's green movement too.
Alright, that sounds all pretty good. Okay, this is been a very long talk. Come, let's go order food. Let's eat.
Where's the food?
I think none of us ordered anything yet.
Wow. Okay,
Okay, let's order now.
Anyone interested in joining the next process?
Gotta think about it, man.
Whatever.
I guess I'll join.
nice and entertaining, and we get a whole lot of things in here, which I love to see, because it gives a bit of a different perspective now. What you've been seeing is compare it. As the first thing that I want to say is, you've seen the environmentalist is driving the whole thing. Without environmentalists, the awareness of the people would not be there. The environmentalists, media, they are those who are influencing the views and opinions of the public. And the case actually here of Germany, it's interesting because talking about the environmentalists, the Green Party, which is now the second strongest party in Germany, started off as an environmentalist union. And they actually, over the past 30 years, moved actually from activists, real activists, sometimes heavy activists, yeah, to solid party, which actually Germans have been thinking to have the competence to lead even the government for a time. They were the largest, majority of votes, but this has changed just during the election. So, important thing here, environmentalists in all cases. Make the people aware, media doing their job. But now we see something very interesting in Germany, and actually I was happy to see this, talking about in the second part actually, about things like recycling. Yeah? Germans are recycling crazy. Yeah? I mean, when me as a German coming here, yeah, this is just developing country style, the way that things are separated here and actually reused. Yeah? When you go to Germany, it is really pushing things to the limits here. So the awareness is there, the people have adopted it, and actually there is not much of an issue with most people in Germany. They've changed, fine. We've heard about solar cells. Yeah? Actually, when you drive with a car in Germany, you see solar cells everywhere, and actually the huge wind turbines, actually they are planted everywhere. Yeah? And actually people have accepted this. There was some criticism, and still there's some criticism, especially for the people living very close to these wind plants. But people have accepted it. Yeah? And actually, I don't recall actually the figures. You should know. What is the current status of renewable energy in Germany? I think it's 30.
Like there's a policy that says those producers are.
No, at the moment. What's the fraction of energy coming from renewable sources?
Something less than half, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, I couldn't Google it because I forgot my mobile here. But it's pretty good. Remember, Singapore wants to have 30% of renewable energies by 2030. Yeah, so it's actually quite advanced. But what we see in Germany is that now things are actually reaching this glass ceiling that I've been talking about. Because now we've come to the point where if there should be a change in Germany, it requires actually to people to give up things. Yeah? Adapt is one thing, accept solar panels, accept wind turbines, but now the Germans' most precious toy, which are cars, exactly. Yeah? We have autobahns, where no speed limit. Yeah? So if you want to really go 180, 200, 220, go to Germany, yeah? Penalty free. Yeah? And actually, it is the Germans' prime pet. Yeah? So for this reason, for example, no way to have speed limits at autobahns. We have the situation of the car sector through subsidies, actually, and lack of subsidies for electric cars, that the German government over the past 16 years under Merkel has been actually continuously encouraging the use of conventional engines. Yeah? Because this makes the people happy. If you would tell a German, now we are going for your prime pet, yeah, which is your high-speed car, yeah, then there would be a problem. They would not get voted. Yeah? So this is like a holy grail, not to be touched. Yeah? This has changed relatively recently only, and the German car industry is now shifting much too late to electric cars. So to the development of electric cars here, again, the whole thing came only because there was heavy subsidies from the German government to make a change, yeah? And essentially allow cars to be built that they permit still speeding here. So, but this is very clearly a governmental thing. Coal, perfect example, another one. Crazy to use this dirty stuff. Environmental-wise, this is ridiculous. Again, political decision. Politicians are not stupid. They know what's going on with fossil fuels. They know that brown coal is the worst source of energy. But because of Fukushima, it was impossible to actually continue with nuclear energy. Nuclear energy has to be phased out. Public vote. The public would have never accepted skyrocketing energy prices, industry, etc. So the situation was again politics. Don't touch the Holy Grail. Make the people happy. Look into the prime interests here, economic growth under the past 16-year government, which means much to show progress in terms of climate change, as we have seen. And that is an example here for a developed nation where we see exactly the point that I've been talking about before. The next step is accept that things will not be as nice and as pleasant as it was. And this will be uncomfortable things, and this will be a difficult thing to communicate to the public, and requires even more action of environmentalists, Fridays for Future, media, etc., to change the mindset of the people to move forward. But at the moment we have that situation, people know about it, people are aware of it, people would like to do something, but are not ready to make actually here adjustments saying, okay, speed limit, bye-bye. Electric cars, own cars, bye-bye. Go for public transport, which is not really something nice and good in Germany. No, this is just this thing here of the people being here, the blockage for governmental action because they would not accept it, and because they would not accept it, they would not vote for the party. As I said, things have changed. The Greens are now in force, and they actually may make a change here to see, what's going to happen. Okay, good. So again, thank you very much, Germany. To the whole thing. And now actually we're going to continue with the president's round, which will be China against Tuvalu and Tanzania, which I guess Tuvalu and Tanzania would actually be sitting here in the same boat, and China would be the one to, let's going to see what's going to happen. Okay, thank you very much, and welcome.
All wearing black.
Oh, have you?
It looks like New Zealand, all black.
No, actually, just click on the Zoom link. Oh, you want to put up something? It's still on. Okay, good.
Oh, what's fun? Is this your account?
Press. Danny, do you need a table?
You want us to shift it?
Oh, that's good. you.
Hello. Can the person in the Zoom see our slides? Okay, so thank you for meeting again. Hopefully we can understand each other's perspective so we can move towards a sustainable and green future. But before that, why are we wearing that?
Oh, I thought the theme was the Great Depression.
Me too. Okay, anyways, let's just go on to talk about like our problems that we face like due to climate change. So for Tuvalu's case, we have so as you can see, Tuvalu's case, we are sinking because of rising sea temperature and also sea levels due to climate change. So the rising sea levels has also contaminated our groundwater supply. So as a result, it also increases the salinity of our groundwater sources. It threatens our water security. And also at the same time, because the water table has been contaminated due to saltwater intrusion, we have also experienced like our crops like dying off due to the soil becoming more and more unsuitable for agriculture. So yeah, and moreover, because we also rely on like our coral reefs for like one of our like natural defenses against coastal erosion, which is one of the main issues that our country is facing due to rising sea level. And our preliminary research that we have done like around the island shows that like because of the rising sea level, the biodiversity in our coral reefs also decreases because it was observed that coral reefs like the biodiversity for it is is higher in shallower waters than in deep waters. So as a result, when our coral reefs has been already been eroded like this with the rising sea level, it really threatens our country's natural defenses against waves. So as a result, we have extreme weather conditions such as the cyclone calm, which like I think it's fortunate to say that it was a miracle that Tuvalu was managed to survive it.
Yeah. Okay. So what are you guys doing about that then? Are you guys preparing swimming lessons for your curriculum?
I mean, for starters, right, we have already started to diversify our freshwater sources. So we have started to tap into our our rainwaters as another water source to rely on. Moreover, we also start shifting towards cultivating more drought-resistant and saltwater-resistant crops to maintain our food supply. Also, we are also doing our best to increase awareness about climate change and under Tuvalu's NAPA to complement existing environmental conservation efforts. However, we are still a very small country, and like with a landmass of less than less than 30 kilometers square, plus we are only above 4 meters above sea levels. Evidently, climate change is something that is threatening like Tuvalu. Since your land is way above like the sea levels, as compared to mine, like I don't think you can understand how severe climate change is.
You're not the only one being affected by climate change. Our country is also affected by climate change. We have an agricultural economy, and agriculture makes up 30% of our GDP, providing jobs to the majority of our population. Much of our agriculture relies heavily on the environment, climate, and weather patterns. Any floods, droughts, change in rainfall, or change in temperatures can grossly affect the yields of our farms, damaging the economy and the livelihoods of our population. I spoke with one of the farmers, and she said that back in 2009, a drought have killed off half of their livestock, severely affecting her family's source of income. To this date, they are still trying to recover from that experience. Understandably, agriculture is a source of greenhouse gas emissions, with the release of carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. However, our country cannot survive without agriculture. In terms of how to improve in agriculture, one major problem is that we lack the funds and the technology to invest in our farms. There were partnerships with the United States Agency for International Development, where we had programs that promoted and trained our community leaders on improved agricultural techniques that are better for the environment and methods that improve food productivity. We know what is required, and we know that if the world will not act accordingly, the countries like ours with lower adaptive capacity have no option but to brace for more devastating impacts. It means that the 30% of our GDP that comes from agriculture, forestry, and fisheries is not sustainable. We therefore call upon developed countries, which are the major emitters, to scale up their actions on mitigation by providing predictable and adequate funding to enable low-income countries like us to achieve our ambitious NDC goals sustainably. China, what do you think?
Yes, I do agree that the developed nations should step up their efforts in fighting against the climate change, since they have more resources to do that, right? We know that China is the largest carbon emitter in the country, in the world, but we are still a developing country, so we all need to understand that, and it's reasonable, right? So it's reasonable for us to emit large amount of carbon dioxide gas. But that does not mean that we are not trying to do our best to fight against climate change. We are still trying to find a balance between growing our economy and fighting against the climate change. And it has been challenging for us since the pandemic has hurt our economy so badly. Then we are still trying to salvage our economy. We have been choosing a cheaper source of energy such as coal. And since we are the largest producer of coal, right, it makes sense for us to choose cheaper coal rather than the expensive renewables. So back to the topic. Shouldn't developed countries do more?
Right, on this topic, I heard on the way here from some foreign delegates, Germany has been phasing out the use of coal as a source of energy for the past 20-30 years, and their carbon dioxide emissions have been on a steady decline. They have also been tapping into renewable energy sources, which are making up over 40% of their overall power production. That's quite significant. In fact, just a few days ago, Germany signed a pledge to end foreign fossil fuel funding by 2022, alongside the United States, United Kingdom, and a number of other countries. Given China's size and the level of emissions, why isn't China signing this pledge? Shouldn't China be doing a little bit more?
And also Tuvalu has made plans to also become 100% renewable energy for all our power generation by the end of 2020 by transiting from diesel and petroleum to solar power. Moreover, we also plan to increase our energy efficiency in our capital by 30% by restructuring our infrastructures. Thanks to international aid, we are also able to make the transition. And also, since we are also making plans towards expanding our islands through land reclamation. So if Tuvalu, who is able to do it even though they are sinking, why can't China do it?
Why? We are already pushing for greater production and higher usage of new energy vehicles. New energy vehicles are either hybrid or fully electric powered. And just last year, we released development plans for new energy vehicles in a bid to push for groundbreaking achievements in battery and vehicle operating systems. So, like by 2025, we aim to produce batteries that is of a power capacity that's twice the combined capacity of batteries that are produced by the rest of the countries. So what does it mean? It means that we can significantly improve the release and storage of energy from renewables. And we also aim to switch all vehicles in public transport to electric power by 2035. So since road vehicles is a major emitter among all modes of transportation, I believe that our plans can help to reduce carbon emission significantly.
Okay, so if that's the case, right, like why is it that China is still increasing the number of coal plants? Why build 43 more coal power plants, right?
Yes, you are right. I do know that we are the cause for large amounts of carbon emissions from coal-fired plants. But we have already planned to stop overseas coal financing, and this means that we are no longer building coal plants in other countries. So you all can you stop focusing on what China has been emitting, but focus more on what China has contributed to the world. Before 2014, the investment in clean energy in Southeast Asia only generated 500 megawatts of solar energy and 0 watt of wind energy. But after 2014, China's investment in green energy in Southeast Asia has generated more than 12,000 of solar energy and wind energy. So in just 5 years, right, we have increased more than 24 times of wind energy in Southeast Asia. Furthermore, we are also financing other major energy projects in other countries. So for example, the world's highest altitude solar farm in Argentina is financed by us, and it's $400 million. You know how much is it? And also, like for example, the hydropower substation in Kenya, and lastly, the world's largest wind farm in Scotland is also financed by us. And did you know that out of the 10 global companies, 10 major solar companies in the world, 8 of them are owned by China? So what makes you think that China is not contributing much to the world? Okay, and also, and Tanzania, you are one of the participant countries in Belt and Road Initiative, right? And but they accuse China for building so many coal-fired plants. But do you remember that back then, in the agreement, we asked for a choice whether you want to choose to produce energy from renewable source of energy or non-renewable, and you all chose coal-fired plants. So stop blaming us for being the one that increased the number of coal-fired plants in the world. You all should be doing much more and create green policies that help you all to choose green technology over non-renewable energy.
Hey, green policies we have. We are moving towards greener and more renewable energy sources. About 30% of our energy comes from hydroelectric plants, and about another 15% comes from thermal energy. That's quite a significant portion. The remaining 55 or up to 60%, depending on the year, are from natural gas, which is needed to sustain the energy needs of our increasingly growing population. As a matter of fact, about 80% of our people do not even have a reliable power supply. We do wish to tap deeper into our renewable energy sources, but as previously stated, it is one of those goals where we need support in terms of funding, technology, and infrastructure in order to achieve. We're also attempting to suppress deforestation and reforest, both for our wildlife and diversity, as well as for decreasing the carbon flux from Earth into the atmosphere. However, there's still only a limit to how much this can help the situation, especially since we are only a relatively minor emitter of greenhouse gases, only about 0.59% of the world total. There's only so much that can be done on our part, and it always just brings us back to the previous problem. We need funds and support.
Okay, so back on that topic itself, right, nonetheless, right, I feel that China should also decrease their greenhouse gas emission. I mean, look at this. Your emission alone is more than India, US, and Russia combined. Can you dare say that you have helped like Tuvalu in the first place?
Wow, Tuvalu. Stop saying that China helped, man. We offer to help you to build artificial islands so that you can deal with rising sea level. But you're rejected because you want to support Taiwan and you want to counter influence from mainland China.
We don't want to compromise our time with Taiwan. Why don't you sort yourself out with Taiwan?
Why do I need to start with Taiwan? Taiwan is part of China.
No, it's not. Like, it's a country by itself.
Wait. Don't turn this into a shouting match. Leave the politics for another day, okay? Anyway, about all the developed countries, developing countries like us are not the only ones contributing to climate change. Look at this country here. Singapore claims that climate change is a matter of life and death, but they too are prioritizing economic growth over the environment. The priorities and commitments reflect minimal action. If all of us follow what Singapore is doing, temperatures would probably rise 3 to 4 degrees. By the end of this discussion, you might not even have an island to go home to. Look at US, November 2020, withdrawn from the Paris Agreement, stating that it would be damaging to their economy. But look again, February 2021, they rejoined the agreement again. What is this, a Netflix plan?
That's right, USA being the second largest carbon emitter in the world, they are also not investing much in greenhouse energy to help the developing country, not like China.
Well, if the developed countries aren't holding up their end of the agreement, then it's not much of an agreement, is it? They can just shift the goalposts anytime they wish. There's nothing binding any country and holding anyone responsible for not contributing their portion. If you are going anywhere with this discussion, you need the more developed countries and the richer countries to come out and talk. It's 4 AM in Washington. America's probably still sleeping. China is still growing, Tuvalu is still struggling, Tanzania is still struggling, and Tuvalu is still drowning.
I mean, I feel that it's pointless that we are having this discussion with each other without the developed country. I mean, let's just go talk to them now.
Maybe next year.
Huh? Next year? At this rate, I won't exist next year. And yeah, that concludes our presentation.